Darth Vader versus Iron Man. Two powerful guys in powerful suits of armor. Well, they're going at it here today. But in a fight like this, well, who's going to be the last one standing? And really, is it even going to be close? Let's get into it. Starting out, let's take a little closer look at Darth Vader. And the first thing that we got to recognize is that if we truly wanted to use Vader in his prime, then we would use this version of Vader. Anakin Skywalker was the most powerful Jedi in over a millennium, and he had unprecedented power in the Force. Our Revenge of the Sith, he was more powerful than anyone on the Jedi Council, even Master Yoda. Even Darth Sidious had to concede that Anakin was potentially more powerful than him. And during the duel on Mustafar, this was Vader at arguably the height of his power. He's the chosen one. But then he was defeated by Obi-Wan, he caught on fire, had like half his body cut off by this point, and was put inside the cybernetic suit keeping him alive. And according to George Lucas, lost a lot of his power and potential in the process. Now that he's half man and half machine, he lost a lot of the ability in the Force because there just isn't as much human left. So where before he had the potential to be twice as powerful as the Emperor, now he's operating at maybe 80% of the Emperor's power, more on par with Darth Maul and Count Dooku. It also messed him up as a lightsaber fighter too. He lost and had to relearn a lot of the skill and ability that he had as Anakin, and definitely lost all that self-confidence that he had. Of course, there are other things to suggest that this isn't the case at all, and Darth Vader actually did get more powerful after putting on the suit, and that his prime was really around Return of the Jedi. Like, he lost his first fight against Obi-Wan Kenobi, first few fights really, but by the time that New Hope rolls around, well, Vader was powerful enough to beat him. And it wasn't just the fact that Obi-Wan was older now and couldn't fight as well with a lightsaber. One, because Obi-Wan had killed Darth Maul while in this same state. But two, because they were also having a Force battle at the same time during this fight. We just couldn't see that playing out with our eyes. But old Ben was wearing out and losing the fight before the fight even began. Just by being around Vader's presence in the Force was enough to tire Obi-Wan out. He had been growing more and more powerful in the dark side of the Force, tapping into a whole new power stream than before. And he's actually come to believe that his injuries only made him stronger and increased his connection to the Force. His pain fed his hate, and his anger, his hate turned into strength, suggesting he's still becoming even more powerful as Vader. So definitely a debate there. But honestly, just because we'll have access to a lot more cool stuff, we're gonna say his prime is Return of the Jedi. Darth Vader has been consistently called one of the deadliest Sith in history, one of the most powerful entities in the galaxy, and someone with the potential to rival or even possibly overthrow the Emperor himself. And this kinda did come to fruition. He did kill the Emperor, even if the death didn't really stick. His Force power manifests itself in a lot of different ways, from telepathy to creating Force barriers or amping himself with Force rage, but his primary has to be telekinesis. He's able to tear apart AT-ATs, bring down trees the size of buildings, or even bring down huge buildings themselves. His raw power is absolutely insane. And he's not necessarily just a bull in a china shop either. Darth Vader has pretty substantial control over everything around him. He's even able to force choke someone from all the way across the galaxy. But it doesn't just stop there. Outside of his insane connection with the Force, Vader is also a tremendously gifted and deadly fighter. He's impossibly strong, and he can use this in a fight, easily overpowering other Jedi or lightsaber fighters. He's surprisingly fast. Even with his robotic armor, he can block pretty much all attacks coming his way, and it's even been said that he's faster than the Emperor himself. Then where Vader shines is his durability, which makes sense. He's already missing half of his body and replaced it with metal. Even before that, he was still pretty good at enduring pain. Vader can legit walk through blaster fire, walk through explosions. It almost doesn't even faze him for the most part. He was even able to take Palpatine's Force Lightning. This is an attack powerful enough to have Maul crying on the floor and begging for mercy. Maul, the guy who feeds off of pain to make him grow stronger in the Force, and survived literally being cut in half. Palpatine's lightning had him screaming out, but when Sidious hit Vader with enough lightning to make his skeleton show up through the armor, I don't even know how that one's possible, well, Vader just kept on pushing, determined to kill him. Then there's just straight his skill. He's the best duelist the Empire has, and fights with a unique and unpredictable style that actually takes bits and elements from all combat techniques. He got more and more skilled between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, and then between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, to the point where it was said he was unparalleled in terms of pure skill. He had no equal, putting him above the likes of Obi-Wan, Luke, and maybe even the Emperor himself. Now, for the fight here, I think it's important to say that we're using a composite version of Iron Man. So basically all the Iron Man armors combined into one, or just the general basic Iron Man armors. Like we won't use the God Killer armor or the Cosmic Iron Man armor because they're so powerful and so outside of Iron Man's norms, it would basically turn into God Killer or Cosmic Iron Man in the fight, not truly Iron Man on a normal day. So Iron Man has always been kinda ridiculously strong, especially when you're considering that he's just a normal dude inside a metal suit. He's been able to help restrain the Hulk or arm wrestle against Thor. He can match straight up against Namor. He's actually done this on repeated occasions. And Tony has just regularly been able to fight against and casually overpower some pretty strong heroes in the Marvel Universe. I mean, call it whatever you want, but there have been multiple times where Iron Man's injured the Hulk with some of his punches. Same with the Thing, too. I mean, not as impressive as the Hulk, but they have destroyed mountains in their fights before. Even the same with Hercules. Iron Man has just been able to regularly rock these guys and hold his own in a fight. Now, am I saying that Iron Man is stronger than any one of these guys or even on the same tier? No, I'm not. However, I think it's clear that hurting Hulk and Thor level beings is well within Iron Man's wheelhouse, because he's just done it way too many times to discredit. It's basically a regular thing for him across all his armors. He's also very, very tough. I mean, even just being able to fight against all those heroes and villains that we talked about before, you know Tony can take a punch. I mean, you can choose from plenty of different examples of Iron Man taking attacks from Hercules, or plenty of punches from the Hulk, or attacks from Thor and swings from Mjolnir. Some serious attacks all around, and for the most part, Iron Man is able to remain standing and keep on going in the fight. He's survived blasts that shook the whole world or sunk the entire West Coast, taking attacks from Heralds of Galactus or Magneto, amping himself with the power of literal planets. He's even taken attacks from Phoenix and Ghost Rider and Starbrand and Odin, all back to back to back. Tony regularly takes some of the meanest attacks that you've ever seen and remains standing. And that's if he just chooses not to use his shields to block the attack altogether. He's blocked punches from the Hulk, attacks from Ultron, even 1/5 of the Phoenix Force before. And Tony is plenty fast and agile. He's consistently been able to blitz opponents. He can operate in the millisecond to nanosecond range of his armor and computers. Even his repulsor blast have been clocked upwards of light speed. But take that last one with a grain of salt, because that doesn't seem to be consistent. But the best thing going for Iron Man in any fight is just all his weapons and powers. And you know Tony is packing a ton of weapons, most notably his energy blast. They've been able to injure Thor, injure the Hulk, injure Sentry. He's regularly injured or knocked out Thor-level villains. He's injured massive monsters before, and even launched a Herald of Galactus out of orbit, or creating blasts that were felt all over the world. So, who wins? Well, let's break it down. Now, if this was Iron Man from the MCU, well, Vader should be winning with relative ease. You don't want to underestimate the power of the dark side. But since it's comics Iron Man, well, that's a pretty great fight. Darth Vader is still seriously powerful, and he could still pose a serious threat to Iron Man. But it's really just because of the Force, and not so much because of a lightsaber. For starters, because Iron Man can fly, and holds a pretty great range advantage over Vader. The only way that Vader can probably use the lightsaber is just by throwing it. And even then, well, the saber isn't doing much to almost any Iron Man armor. Different armors have taken heat vision from Gladiator, Hellfire from Ghost Rider, plunged into the heat of Odin's forge, or even held up to Terrax's axe, which is sharp enough to cut atoms. So, however you spin it, the Iron Man armor is heat resistant enough to take an attack from a lightsaber, and the metal is tough enough to where it's not cutting through easily. So really what you're looking at here is Iron Man versus the Force. That's basically the fight. And don't get me wrong, Darth Vader is insanely powerful with the Force. Like, Darth Vader is one of the most powerful Sith Lords of all time. He's the chosen one, and he's just regularly gotten more and more powerful in the Force, reaching the point where Palpatine is scared of Vader and begins to believe that Vader rivals him in power. Darth Vader has even shook a whole planet before with his rage and power. Totally possible that Vader could either try and crush Iron Man inside the suit with the Force, or just bypass the suit altogether and try and force choke Tony directly. But Iron Man definitely has contingencies for just this thing. Now, no, he doesn't have straight up built-in contingencies for the Force, but he does have contingencies built into the armor to protect him from telekinetic attacks and prevent the armor from being crushed. He's got shields to protect from telepathic attacks that can actually hold up to Phoenix Force Emma Frost or Red Onslaught. He's even got magical defenses that can block attacks from Scarlet Witch. Now, Darth Vader is insanely powerful in the Force. As Anakin, he was able to overpower the son and the daughter, who are literally just Force gods within the Star Wars universe. But Tony has made it difficult enough to attack him this way, where Vader would have to work for it. It's not as simple as Vader just crushing a guy in a simple suit of armor. And even if you think Darth Vader will eventually be able to get through Iron Man's defenses, it definitely presents a good opportunity for Iron Man to counter and get at Vader. Like, Darth Vader's suit runs on power and electricity, something that Tony can definitely exploit. And Iron Man has some of the greatest EMPs in comics. He's used EMPs to take out Vision, Dr. Doom, and the entire Baxter building. He's also able to hack into literally anything. He's even released acid that could straight up melt Vision's circuitry. No doubt he could take down Vader too, especially since this has already happened to Vader before. Now, in this moment, Vader was able to overcome it and just continue powering through with sheer power and force of will. But definitely gives Iron Man the moment to take Vader down, and it takes away Vader's focus on actually attacking Iron Man while he's just focusing on moving without his robot body. And given the opportunity, Iron Man definitely has enough power to take Vader down. Cause you know Tony is packing a ton of weapons, most notably his energy blast. He's been able to injure Thor, injure the Hulk, injure Sentry. He's regularly injured or knocked out Thor level villains. He's injured massive monsters before, and even launched a Herald of Galactus out of orbit, or creating blasts that were felt all over the world. You can argue that Vader will be able to block all of Iron Man's energy blast with either the lightsaber or the Force. But you're talking about some seriously powerful energy blast. And not just that, but powerful missiles and explosives, sonic attacks, electric attacks, pretty much any other weapon that Tony can think of. It will be a great fight, and in some ways it does depend on how powerful you believe the Force is. But considering that Iron Man can without a doubt take down Vader's armor, has weapons powerful enough to take Vader out, and Tony has built-in defenses against everything ranging from the Phoenix Force to Chaos Magic, I think he's got more than enough to beat Darth Vader in a fight. Good fight, but Iron Man is winning here.